The alarm rings at 6 a.m. Not because you are ready, because your bills are. Your salary arrives on the last Friday of every month. 450,000 naira. It looks like progress for a few hours. Then the money begins to disappear. Rent, electricity, fuel, groceries, phone bills, loan repayments, small subscriptions you barely remember signing up for. By the second week, your bank balance feels strangely familiar again, almost empty. You tell yourself you'll save next month. You always do. Months become your entire financial horizon. You measure life from one payday to the next. Every decision answers the same question. Can I make it to the end of the month? Without realizing it, you've become incredibly good at surviving. But survival and wealth have never been the same thing. One afternoon, you notice something strange. The wealthiest person you know doesn't seem obsessed with money. They rarely talk about salaries. They don't celebrate payday. They don't panic over market headlines. Instead, they ask different questions. What will this investment look like in 20 years? What will my children inherit? What problems will my grandchildren never have to solve? For the first time, you realize they aren't playing the same financial game. You're counting months. They're counting generations. Imagine two people earning exactly the same income. Both make 700,000 naira every month. The first spends nearly everything: a nicer apartment, a newer car, weekend spending that slowly becomes routine. At the end of every year, their lifestyle grows. Their wealth does not. The second lives below their means, not dramatically, just intentionally. Every month they invest 200,000 naira into diversified index funds and productive assets, averaging around 10% annually over the long term. Nothing spectacular happens in year 1 or year 2. The numbers almost look disappointing, but time is doing something invisible: compounding. The most powerful financial force rarely feels exciting while it's happening. The strange thing about compound growth is that it rewards patience more than intelligence. After 10 years, consistent investing has built millions. After 20 years, the portfolio begins growing faster than the monthly contributions themselves. Eventually, money starts earning more money than your job ever could. This is the moment everything changes. Income is no longer coming from effort alone. It is coming from ownership. The wealthy understand this deeply. Employees sell labor, owners accumulate assets. Generational wealth begins the moment ownership becomes more important than income. Look closely at how wealthy families behave. They don't rush to sell valuable businesses after one good year. They don't liquidate appreciating assets because prices temporarily rise. Instead, they borrow against valuable assets when necessary. They preserve ownership, because ownership continues producing value long after cash has been spent. A company, a portfolio, rental property, farmland, intellectual property. Each becomes a machine designed to outlive its creator. The goal is no longer consumption. The goal is permanence. Then your perspective shifts again. You stop asking, how much does this cost? You begin asking, what is the lifetime cost of not owning assets? Buying the latest luxury item may satisfy today. Owning productive investments may transform the next 30 years. Every financial decision quietly competes against your future. Not just your present. Opportunity cost becomes visible everywhere. Every unnecessary expense is no longer simply money spent. It is future compound growth surrendered. Debt begins to look different too. Not all debt destroys wealth, but consumer debt often steals tomorrow to satisfy today. A credit card balance charging 30% annual interest works against you every hour. while investments try to compound upward. High-interest debt compounds downward. One builds freedom. The other quietly builds dependence. The mathematics don't care how optimistic you feel. Interest always chooses a side. Years pass. Your financial statements begin telling a different story. Emergency savings cover unexpected setbacks. Investments continue growing during months when you contribute nothing. Dividends arrive. Capital appreciation continues. Your salary still matters. But it is no longer carrying your entire life. Your assets have started sharing the burden. For the first time, losing your job would be frightening, not catastrophic. That difference is called financial resilience, and it cannot be purchased overnight. Then you notice something even more important. Money has changed your behavior before it changed your lifestyle. You become more patient, less reactive, less impressed by status. You stop competing with strangers driving expensive cars financed by invisible debt. You become comfortable looking ordinary while quietly becoming wealthier. Because true wealth rarely announces itself. It compounds silently, behind closed doors, across decades. Eventually, the conversation inside your family changes. Instead of asking children what they want to buy, you teach them what ownership means. You explain investing before consumption. You show them that every asset is a worker. Every dollar, naira, pound, or euro has a job. Some jobs produce more money, others disappear forever. This knowledge becomes an inheritance more valuable than cash itself. Money can be lost. Financial thinking can survive generations. One day, someone in your family will benefit from decisions they never watched you make. They won't remember the weekends you chose investing over spending. They won't see the vacations you postponed. They won't know how often you said no. They will simply inherit a life with more choices. And that is the quiet purpose of generational wealth. Not luxury, not status, not proving anything to anyone. Freedom. Because people who think in months spend their lives trying to survive the next paycheck. People who think in generations spend their lives building a future they may never personally see. That is the difference. One life is measured by calendars. The other is measured by legacies.